there are many religions and everyone calls God different names. How I believe that Hashem is the only one? Because that's what the Torah says. If you look at the major religions of the world, you have Judaism, you have Islam, and you have different versions of Christianity, Catholicism, Protestants, and so on. Now, this is where the majority of the world worships. And of course, there are over 80,000 cults and religions in India, and there's all types of other unusual ones. But the major religions are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Now, the Jews are who got the Torah. Muhammad didn't get the Torah. Yeshua, Peter, Paul, they didn't get the Torah. The Jewish people got Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu got Torah. Am Yisrael got Torah. Mount Sinai. It was a public event, and it's written about in the Torah. Now, you have the Torah given to Am Yisrael 3,335 years ago. Only about 1,400 years later did a heretic Jew called Yeshu, or as they call him, Jesus, decide to go against the Torah and make people follow him. Now, he himself did not start a religion called Christianity. He just simply decided to make himself a leader, as if it's a new version of Judaism. And anywhere between 70 to 300 years after he died, did the Christianity become invented by people that never saw him, by people that never spoke to him. All the people that wrote the New Testament lived many years after he died. They never saw him. Now, those people, in essence, started this whole Christianity. Jesus, at his time, he was thinking that he's following Jews, and his original followers were Jews. Now, the New Testament is not something that came from nothing. What they're saying is that the Torah, which is the 5 books of Moses and the writings and the prophets, this is 24 total books, that they call all of that the Old Testament. So that's in essence for them. For us, that's it. For them, that's part 1. And then they invented a new thing that's man-made, that was not given at Mount Sinai, that was not given by God. Just a bunch of people decided to write it. And they say that's part 2. Now, even though if something has a part 1 and a part 2, that means that the two should agree with each other. But the New Testament contradicts the Torah. It says the opposite of the Torah. It says that the covenant is null and void, and so on and so forth, as if God changed his mind. Or it says that they humanized God, they turned God into a human being, or in a trinity, and all that nonsense. But needless to say, they do not say that the Torah is false. They just say that there is a continuation that changed things. So, if somebody uses their mind, they'll realize that logically, it is statistically possible for one option, both to be true. That's one possibility. Second possibility is for both to be false. Third possibility would be for Judaism to be true, the Torah being true, and Christianity false. What's not possible is for the New Testament to be true and the Old Testament, the Torah, to be false. Why? Because the New Testament depends on the truth of the Old Testament, of the Torah. So if the Torah is false, by default, the New Testament would be false. So here you see that statistically possible, even without investigating the verses and being a scholar, you already know that the chances of truth are guaranteed to be higher with the Torah. The same goes with the Quran. The New Testament started 2,000 years ago. The Quran started about 1,400 years ago. And the Quran, just like the New Testament, copies from the Torah, where they say the Jews got the Torah at Mount Sinai. They also believe in the New Testament to a certain extent. And then they came and they say there are, in essence, like a third book, a continuation. So again, you have the same exact issue here. You have possible chance, everything is false. Possible chance, everything is true. Possible chance that the Torah is true and the Quran is false. So already you see that the chances of Judaism being true are much higher than anything else. Now, of course, this is just simple statistics. Now, if you actually want to spend some time researching the subject, I have many lectures about it, there are many books about it. If you truly research the topic, it will be impossible for you to ever arrive at a conclusion that the Torah was written by anyone other than God. It's impossible for such a book to be written by a human being. There's certain information in it, not only prophecies of things that happen in the future, but information that could not be given by anyone other than God. For example, in this week's Torah portion, Parashat Re'eh, God tells us that you have the kosher animals and the non-kosher animals. And in order for kosher fish and non-kosher fish. Now, in order for something to be considered a kosher fish, they have to have fins and scales. Fins and scales. But if something has just fins and no scales, it's not kosher. but you will never find anything that just has scales and no fins. So here the Torah is in essence telling us something about the species of the world. There are countless different types of fish. 40, 50,000 have already been discovered. So whoever wrote this book has absolute certainty that no fish would ever exist in all of history, past, present, or future, that will just have scales without fins. So here you see that this is something that cannot be written by a person, because if it was written by a person, you could easily go find. Is there something? But no one's ever found such a fish. The same goes with the animals. There are certain rules with the animals. They have to chew their cud and have a split hoof. And I have a whole film about this. Different scientific evidence that the Torah is divine. The Torah is from the one and only God. No other book has such a thing. Not the New Testament, not the Quran, not the stuff from the teachings of Buddha, not from Aristotle and all the world of philosophers. Not any other book in existence has the scientific evidence, mathematical evidence, archaeological evidence, and prophecy that the Torah has. Nothing even comes close. So if you actually study the topic, you'll see that not only is the written Torah divine, but the oral Torah, which includes the Talmud, is also divine, because the oral Torah, the Talmud, has information in it that is not something that a human being can ever know, unless we got it from God, from the Creator. For example, the Gemara, the Talmud in Masechet Brachot, page 32b, says that the number of stars in the universe. This is something that at the time the Talmud was written, about 1700 years ago, the telescope was not invented yet. That only came over 1,000 years later. But yet, they had a knowledge of the number of stars in the entire universe, something that modern day science only arrived at a close number to it only in the last 20 years. So even when the telescope came out, they were only able to see only a few stars. They weren't able to see as much as we can see today with the big telescopes they have and the machinery they have. And even now, they still can't see everything. But the point is that the number of stars are in the Talmud. The different scientific evidence that are in the written and the oral Torah are beyond the possibility of them coming from human knowledge or intellect. So the more you investigate that, the more you'll see. On my YouTube channel, there is playlists, and one of the playlists is, I think it says playlist for beginners. And there's several lectures there, several films there. Start over there, and you'll see that there's more than enough information there, not only to educate you, but that you can build upon. That you could go try researching further if you want. I don't think you need to, but by all means, you could research further. And you'll see that not only that the Torah is from God, but the God of Israel, the God of the Torah, is the only God, and there is no other God.